日本時間7日、米大リーグ機構 MLB は最も優れた打者に贈られるハンク・アーロン賞の最終候補を発表し、日本選手初の本塁打王に輝いたエンゼルスの大谷翔平が3年連続で選出されました。今シーズン最も優れたバッターに贈られるハンク・アーロン賞は、大リーグ歴代2位の755本のホームランを打ち、一昨年亡くなったハンク・アーロンさんにちなんで1999年に始まり、ファン投票や野球殿堂入りした元選手による選考によってリーグで1人ずつ選ばれます。これまでサミー・ソーサやバリー・ボンズ、現役ではマイク・トラウト、ジャッジ、ハーパーらメジャーを代表する強打者が選出されてきました。投手でノミネートされたのは大谷が初めてで、過去に日本選手の受賞はありません。また、エンゼルスの球団公式インスタグラムでも、大谷のハンク・アーロン賞最終候補入りを紹介し、大谷のポスター調ショットに44本塁打、二塁打以上が78本、OPS1.066 など今季ア・リーグ1位となった記録を載せて祝福していました。同賞だけでなく、2年ぶりのア・リーグ MVP を受賞するかどうかにも注目が集まる中、今季終了後の去就に関しても話題はつきません。アメリカのポッドキャスト番組、ファウルテリトリーでは、
大谷の移籍金について500億円は妥当か
について議論が繰り広げられていましたので、日本語字幕付きでご紹介していきます。
I want to talk about Mr. Ohtani. He had his elbow surgery. What do you see for him? I mean, obviously everybody throw out a number, 500, 600, ownership. What do you see happening for him? Because it's going to have to be interesting language due to he's had multiple injuries. Who do you see him going to?
All right, he's really going to get paid, but he's going to lose a bunch of money because he's not a pitcher right now, and he's not going to be a pitcher in 2024, which we all lose with that because we've never seen anybody quite like him. But somebody's going to go out there and give him a ton of money, maybe let's just say $450 million, and then load it up with incentives in case he comes back as a pitcher in 2025. And there's no guarantee he's coming back as a pitcher in 2025. I think he will, but we're not positive that. This is his second Tommy John. And as for Adam, where he's going to go, of course, that's the big question, and nobody has the right answer here. But it just seems most logical to me that the Dodgers have the best shot at him. To me, the last couple of years, they've been saving money here and there in order to load up to go get Ohtani. He's accomplished virtually everything that you can in the game. He's going to win his second MVP this year. He's the most remarkable player we've ever seen. The one thing he hadn't done yet is win. And he's going to look and say, who gives me the best chance to win long term? I think he's going to pick the Dodgers. To me, at least, we're all guessing, but that makes the most sense at this moment.
Tim, I think it's such a unique case because, yeah, you mentioned 450, and I'll put that 500 number at you and say over under. I'm assuming you're going to go under. But I guess the reason why I still go over 500 is because of the uniqueness of the player. I know you're not trying to pay for a $500 million DH only, but the pretty strong likelihood that he will pitch again after next season. And I think top line overall in our league, it is still about making money for these owners. And it is no secret amongst everyone that Shohei Ohtani made the Angels significant cash, way more than any other ball player in the sport could make. You know, rumors are 15. I've even heard behind the scenes $20 million for the Angels just based on sponsor deals that go to the team, not for Shohei Ohtani. Knowing that alone and then putting that factor into the average annual value, don't you think that his contract, if he wants it to be, will go over 500 based on how many teams will be involved?
Yeah, I would not be shocked or surprised if he got $500 million. I mean, that's what I thought he'd get 600 at the beginning, and then he got hurt. And I said, all right, he's only going to get 500 million now. He may go a little bit below that, but again, with incentives, if he gets incentives, it's going to be a ridiculous deal. And a bunch of teams are going to be interested because, Scott, you're absolutely right. The revenue that he brings in just being Shohei Ohtani is enormous. I think that's another reason that the Angels hung on to him, because they got him for another 2 months, which means 2 more months of Ohtani revenue.
Do you, for just about Ohtani, with his injury history, do you see him or possibly doing a John Smoltz scenario where, okay, great starter, hurt his elbow, go to the bullpen, become 50 save closer. He's available a lot more often. It's not every 6 day like he does in Japan. You can bring him every single day, or I mean, obviously not available every day, but a lot more often than a starter. So, could he end up at the say 4 or 5 years from now be a closer and still hit?
Yes, with his skill set, obviously he can do anything. But I think it's really tricky when you're also a hitter and you're getting into 60 games as a pitcher, as a reliever. I think it's really, really hard. I checked with the Angels people on this, and I gave them that scenario, and one of their guys just said, "No, that's not happening. He's either going to be a starter." I mean, he's just going to be a starter, not a reliever. But I'm with you. I think he could be a great closer. I just don't know how you combine that with him also being a hitter.
Yeah, the rules of the sport make that difficult, but who knows? I mean, he's done a lot that we never anticipated at this point. So he's going to dominate the offseason like LeBron years back with his decision.
また、MLB ネットワークの番組 MLB トゥナイトでは、
大谷のエンゼルス復帰は考えられない
とし、その理由についても力説していましたので、こちらも日本語字幕付きでご紹介していきます。
You know, the conversation around the Angels is interesting this offseason because Shohei Ohtani is famously a free agent, in case you haven't heard. They've got Mike Trout under contract long-term and a good young core. Al, where do you see the Angels going?
So I think you have to start with what you just said. You got to sit Mike Trout down. I don't know the pulse there, but is Mike Trout part of your future? I mean, it has to start there. And I know he's at no trade and it gets complicated. But if he is, then now we know how that looks. I can't see Ohtani going back. It's just all gears for him to go elsewhere. I just think, I mean, we just showed with Phil Nevin's time, but you go back to 2021, so the last 3 years, they've had the 5th worst record in the American League. So it's been a struggle. And I think there's so many places, guys, that where do you go? And if you're not going to sign of Ohtani, and I know I'm speculating here, but I'm making the assumption, and if his Trout back, where do you add and how long of a period or runway is it? I'm going to say this now. Paramanazian, I liked what he did. If all the talk was at the trade deadline, are we trading Ohtani? Are we keeping Ohtani? If you're keeping Ohtani, they were right in there at the trade deadline for one of the wild card spots. So when they went out and we added some of the players that they did, good for them. It didn't work out, but at least there was an effort. Look, Matty, I don't know, Sean, where you go, but I think there's a lot of holes that have to be filled in order to make this team a playoff team.
I agree with you, Al. They were in it. And if you're an Angels fan and you're seeing your team going to get guys and saying we're going to keep Ohtani and then we're going to make that run, it just didn't work out. The one thing that is going to be tough though is if they moved Ohtani and he doesn't come back, right? The load they would have got back from, the players they could have got back, the ready-made major leaguers, the prospects they could have got back. That's the only thing when I look at it and say.
これからも大谷の活躍から目が離せません。皆様からのコメントもお待ちしております。